back to the Rant and Review Pro Wrestling. A lot of stuff happened this weekend. It was the weekend of massive firings and the weekend of B-list pay-per-views. So we're going to talk about all that's been going on in the pro wrestling world over here in North America. Crazy stuff going on, rumors, and everything else. But before we get into that, I want to remind you guys, I always got some free goodies down for you in the description box below. If you are a person who's responsible with your finances or looking to get started with investing, you can look down in the description box. There are free stocks from Webull, free stocks from Robinhood. You're basically getting free money that way, where you keep them and sell them or whatever you do with them. It's free, so you might as well check those links out down below. We also have a link to Will Ospreay, the international wrestler, on Amazon Prime. So check out some of that stuff if you're interested in the description box below. But one of the first things I wanted to talk about is the B-list pay-per-views that we got over the weekend. First one being WWE Payback. Overall, I thought the show was cool for a WWE show, but it did kind of take me back to an event before the Bloodline, and there's a certain flatness without the Bloodline storyline on a WWE show. I noticed because I've credited them and say for the last year or so now, almost going on a year and a half, they've been really good. Their pay-per-views, at least, have been really good, and the storylines they've been telling are really good. This show, the most important thing that came out of it is the Judgment Day. They picked up the WWE Tag Team Championships, taking them off of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, using pretty much all of the blood of the Judgment Day, along with their new protege, to do it. Rhea Ripley retaining her Women's Championship. Of course, Dominic, who was instrumental in both of those wins, he's the North American champion for NXT. And Damian Priest also has the Money in a Bank briefcase, so it was a huge night for the Judgment Day. We also, of course, had John Cena on the show. He was the host. He was the referee in this really kind of lukewarm match, surprisingly, between The Miz and LA Knight. There was a little hint there that we might be going to a LA Knight John Cena match at some point in the future, which that should be interesting, but I don't know. There's a lot to talk about that in the future. I'm going to have to see where that goes before I comment on it too much, because I don't know if it's going to be good. It could be a really cool thing, or it could be one of the worst things in the world. I don't know. But the big highlights of the show, though, again, the tag team match was awesome, and the opening match with Trish and Becky Lynch in the steel cage, that was fantastic. I did love the intro video package for the main event match between Shinsuke Nakamura and Seth Rollins. I thought that anime influence with Shinsuke doing the voiceover in Japanese and the subtitles and the animation itself, I thought it was really, really cool. Again, and same thing with Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch in their video package, and then doing the split screen of them kind of saying similar things. WWE, again, always number one when it comes to the video package production kind of stuff. But overall, the rest of the show was kind of lukewarm. I mean, not a lot of people were into the women's match with Rhea Ripley defending her title against Rodriguez. Some of the middle matches were kind of, the crowd was kind of lukewarm for some of them. That is a noted thing with the Pittsburgh crowd, though. They do have their reputation in recent years of being kind of a flatter crowd than most other crowds. Austin Theory couldn't get the U.S. Championship from Rey Mysterio, so overall it was an okay show, but it was a B show. It was a B pay-per-view show, and a lot of people have said this could have just been an elevated version of SmackDown, the way that it was run. And the same thing can be said if we now shift over to All Elite Wrestling, following them setting a paid attendance single-day record for All In with 81,035 people in attendance. All Out, which over the last couple of years has been one of their biggest shows of the year, felt like a B show. The AEW's first B pay-per-view, I would say, not even headlined by a World Heavyweight Championship match or a big grudge match or anything. But the show itself was absolutely fantastic. Yes, we are in the shadow of the CM Punk firing. Yes, it's in Chicago. There were some murmurs and chants throughout the night, but there wasn't a lot of CM Punk stuff from the crowd on that night. And actually, it turned out they had a decent crowd and apparently a pretty decent amount of pay-per-view buys. So business-wise, hey, they made some money off of this, even though a lot of people have been complaining about the builds and having two back-to-back pay-per-views. It is a lot to ask from your fans, who are mostly working class to middle class people, except, that's the bulk of them. They're, we are who we are. And for a lot of people, $100 in a week for wrestling is a bit much. But then again, you see a lot of wrestling fans who spend $400 on those replica belts. So maybe it's not that much for them. But I thought the show was fantastic from start to finish. I was not expecting much from it. I was kind of lukewarm to watching it. I'm like, I'm kind of burned out on wrestling right now. All right, let me go watch All Out. And, from the start with the pre-show and the whole stuff with Dennis Rodman, that was that was entertaining and fun. The show proper, starting out with Better Than You, Bebe, MJF, and Adam Cole. They continued their thing, defending against the Dark Order, the Ring of Honor tag titles. And I know a lot of people complained about that the Dark Order wasn't fitting of a tag team championship match, and this was something they could have done on Dynamite or something. Sometimes every match on a pay-per-view, though, doesn't need to be like the culmination of a big storyline. Again, we're back to the non-existent rule book on wrestling booking that nobody ever seems to come to a consensus on what that is, nor does any company ever adhere to it. And they do different and innovative things, and I want different and innovative things. AEW tried it, it worked. But sometimes they just don't need to be all that much. This was a storyline beat match. It did work. It did facilitate a heel change for the Dark Order, who were a lot more aggressive and vicious in this match. They are full-on heels now. Even though they did the whole thing where Cole and MJF were, split up because MJF's neck, as a holdover from the All In show, which I thought was a cool callback. MJF got injured, had to leave the match, came back, made the heroes return, and got the hot tag. And of course, we got the double clothesline for them to win the match. After the match, MJF goes back up the ramp, and Samoa Joe's music plays. He comes out to the ring, and then he kind of nudges Max out the way. Now, first off, I didn't catch this. I was slow on this one because I hadn't even thought about it until later. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. That's from that whole thing on NXT when Max was an extra in WWE and Joe kind of pushed him out the way. So that's a callback to that. That's pretty cool. But Adam's trying to keep MJF from getting into it. So instantly we have a pull apart with MJF and Samoa Joe, apparently leading to the next big match for the AEW World Championship. And a Samoa Joe MJF feud, that could be absolute gold. And again, you throwing Adam Cole into the mix there. I think the bromance storyline, now that basically the Bloodline storyline is kind of on hold for now. But the bromance storyline in AEW with their Better Than You Baby, I think is the best storyline in wrestling right now until, while Roman's on vacation. The rest of the card was a lot of fun. We had the emergence. Finally, the two big men slapping meat thing has now made its way into the audience as during the match of Miro and Will Hobbs, the crowd started chanting meat to everything and holy meat and all this other stuff because of the two big meaty men slapping meat together. Pro wrestling is a unique and wonderful place, and it really is. And it's interesting the contrast here between the AEW Chicago crowd and the WWE Pittsburgh crowd. And, it's night and day, it really was funny watching those two shows back to back and the stark difference between the two companies and the two fan bases. That match was fun. We got the appearance of CJ, Miro's actual wife. They kind of set up a little maybe Miro doesn't trust her thing, and he left out the ring. Who knows where that's going. Darby Allin got literally obliterated by Luchasaurus. That match was absolutely fantastic. The match of the night for me, and this was a hard one to pick, I think it's tied between this and the main event, but Bryan Danielson, again, another member of the Blackpool Combat Club, having a fill-in for CM Punk. He took on a match that was likely supposed to be CM Punk and Ricky Starks for the real AEW championship. I hope AEW got that belt off of him, by the way, because imagine, this is a side note, CM Punk showing up in WWE with the AEW belt with a big X across it. They're going to murder a man. We'll get into that some other time, but murder on the optics level. It's going to be a crazy year coming up. Anyway, back to the match. My God. Wrestling. Danielson and Ricky Starks put on an absolute fantastic strap match. This was hard hitting. This was Ricky Starks getting smacked in the face. And the post-match media scrum, however, we find out that Danielson said there were a lot of smoke and mirrors in this match. And I didn't even notice it. That he didn't even use his right arm in the entire match. He didn't throw a strike with his right arm the entire match. And Danielson did say that Ricky Starks basically called the match and carried him out there. But this was fantastic. You even got Ricky the Dragon Steamboat getting involved, chopping Big Bill. It was, and the finish was kind of interesting. Danielson likes choking people. In fact, that's how he got originally fired in the WWE when that Nexus run, that big Nexus attack from 13 years ago. And ironically, the same ring announcer was getting choked by his tie, and that WWE fired him. And then, of course, Danielson came back. Danielson came back as Daniel Bryan later on. But this reminded me of that as he's pulling back on Ricky Starks, choking him out with a label lock with the strap around Ricky's throat. Ricky passes out. And everybody looks great coming out of this match. It was a fantastic match. Bullet Club Gold against FTR and the Young Bucks. That was another fun match. I enjoyed the hell out of that one. There was so much little interplay with FTR and the Young Bucks. Of course, this was the only part where you really got the CM Punk chants going. The crowd was getting on. It wasn't too much, and the crowd was getting on the Young Bucks for a bit. The main event of the night, that was probably, again, tied with the Danielson match with Ricky Starks. Match of the night, Orange Cassidy defending his international championship against Jon Moxley. Bloody, brutal match. We got Orange Cassidy kind of graduating from the light kicks into a full-on stomp. Mox bleeding, Cassidy bleeding. A lot of blood on the show. A lot of people bleeding on the show. Moxley beat the tar out of Orange Cassidy, who's already had the tar beaten out of him for the last 6 months. But Orange kept coming back. He even took a full-on Death Rider and kicked out of it. He kept coming back. And then eventually when he didn't have anything left, he used what he could to pull his hands out of his pockets just to flip off Jon Moxley. Moxley's like, and I guarantee you that kayfabe earns Moxley's respect, and Moxley didn't just pull the trigger and puts him out. The best championship run, probably up there with Roman Reigns, as I know a lot of people probably say Orange Cassidy's title run has been better than Roman Reigns' run this year. But you definitely have to consider it one of the best stories of 2023. And Orange Cassidy, at this point, I have to say, a lot of people should have him on their list as a potential wrestler of the year. His performance with this international championship has been nothing short of extraordinary. He got a big ovation from the Chicago crowd, even in defeat. I thought it was a great match. I would be remiss, of course, not to mention the Takeshita match with Kenny Omega. Omega falling to Takeshita, taking a lot of bumps. Omega not getting any wins, being almost, I think he's winless in 2023 in singles matches. So lots to unpack after that show, though. Chris Statlander retained her championship against Ruby Soho because Toni Storm is Toni Storm, and when she's not throwing shoes at people, she's turning on her fellow Outcast members because, well, Toni,
she belongs to the streets.
I'm sure Saraya and Ruby are not happy with her, and we'll see where that goes in the future. But overall, All Out was a fantastic show. I enjoyed it from start to finish. I'm not going to compare it with the WWE Payback show. It's a totally different kind of show. It is more my style, though, and I feel a lot more newsworthy things happen on the All Out show. A show that had no build, virtually almost no build, and a lot of fans complaining about it. They managed to churn out, again, yet another pay-per-view that was worth your money. And again, like they said, they probably had about 100,000 buys, so that's pretty good. So they made a lot of money off of this whole show. Some other unfortunate news, however, Kevin Kelly's been tweeting out to a lot of fans recently, talking about that his days as the play-by-play guy for New Japan Pro Wrestling's English commentary may be coming to an end. He did say that is mainly due to his wife. His wife of 32 years was tired of being alone. I mean, again, Kevin goes over there to Japan. That's not like a short flight, and he's not going to just go there and come home the same night. He's going to be over there for 2 weeks at a time. And of course, during big tournaments like the G1, he's gone for a whole month. You know, he's got the gig with AEW now for Collision. So I guess Kevin Kelly, you know, the journeyman play-by-play guy of pro wrestling. He's been in almost every single major company in the around the world now. He's a good guy, and he will be missed. He does say he wants to stay at least through Wrestle Kingdom next year, and then somebody else who's, you know, can be in Japan full time and obviously is knowledgeable and likes the product and can grow with the product. Kevin Kelly made that suggestion. A lot of people are pointing to Chris Charlton, who would be the obvious choice to take over for play-by-play, but Chris Charlton also has other obligations. He can't, I mean, right now he can't make a lot of these shows that aren't in the Tokyo area. Going to be interesting to see what New Japan does, what they can do as far as filling in that play-by-play spot if it's not Chris Charlton. Kelly leads. Are we going back to Matt Striker or somebody? Who are they? Maybe they pull somebody from New Japan Strong. I don't know. Before anybody says anything, no, I cannot do play-by-play. I can do color. If they want me to come do color, I'd be willing to do color commentary for New Japan. I don't know. But in all seriousness, I don't know who they would get to do play-by-play for if Charlton can't do it full-time. Sad thing would be is if they kind of limit English commentary because they just can't find anybody to do it. I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem. There are people out there, a lot of ring announcers who are people who would like to do that job. You could either pull somebody from another company, who knows. But I just have to say, Kevin Kelly I think his best run has been in his New Japan run. I think that's been his best stuff. He got to kind of find his little corner of the wrestling world and dominate it as the voice. And for a number of years, a lot of people considered him the best play-by-play guy in the business, especially during that big golden run that we just came out of with New Japan in the late 2010s. So again, hopefully, best of wishes to Kevin Kelly and what he's doing in the future. And he's been doing it for a long time, and that's a lot of time to spend away from your family, so I understand. The last little bit of news is that Jey Uso has been moved over to the Raw roster, so now a lot of people are suspecting, and it seems kind of obvious, that Cody's going to go over to SmackDown, and this makes sense, because Cody's goal was to get the championship belt that Roman has. Cody, even when people mention that World Heavyweight Championship, Cody doesn't really seem like he's too interested in Seth's title. He wants to go after Roman's, so in order to do that, he's going to have to be over on SmackDown. Cody did say when Jey went over to, was announced at the pay-per-view that, hey, I don't know if we're doing the right thing here. I guess Cody offered himself to get traded over to go after Roman and the WWE Championship again. The WWE, whatever the damn title is called that Roman has, that title, Cody's probably still going to go after it, which I think makes a lot of sense. That's the belt he wants. He wants the one. That is the one with the lineage that his father did not have. Jey Uso over on Raw, that does seem like it could open up some possibilities. I did get to see the clip of Jey Uso and Sami Zayn having their first interaction since those Bloodline days, man. Again, WWE working really, really well with that whole Bloodline storyline. I think really did, for me, I can only speak for myself, obviously, but carried the WWE show to being something I enjoy watching again. And looked forward to seeing and wanting to see what happened next. Again, that's kind of dissipated over the past couple of weeks with the Bloodline storyline not really being the focus and them kind of doing other stuff. I hope it. They say Paul Heyman said it's not even in the late innings yet, so there's a lot more coming with it. I don't know what else they could do with it, but there seems to be a plan. There's definitely a plan. Remember, we're going to start heading into them setting the seeds for WrestleMania pretty soon, so we're going to kind of find out what direction we're going with that in the future. But that's all I got for today. I want to know what you guys think about these stories. What did you think about WWE Payback? What did you think about All Out? What do you think the possibilities are going forward with Jey Uso on Raw and Cody going to SmackDown possibly? And what do you think? Who do you think might replace Kevin Kelly when he eventually winds up hanging it up for the English commentary in New Japan on New Japan World? Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. I will be talking about, again, like I said, let's look at Tony Khan's side and AEW side now that the Punk firing happened, what led up to it, what's going to happen after this. And I do have other videos that I'm going to be talking about later on this week as we head into another crazy week of news and commentary here in the world of pro wrestling on the Rant and Review Pro Wrestling. Have a good day.